future people. You're watching Getting Tabled. I'm Jason the Bruce, and today we're unboxing something lethal. Don't Look Back is a game that I came across randomly. It's actually something that we covered about 6 or 7 episodes ago now during our podcast as part of our aiming for the Indy. I don't actually remember how I found this originally, but as someone that's been a fan of horror movies since my early teens, like in all honesty, I was watching them much younger than most people would deem was appropriate. But the moment that I saw this, I was like, oh, I have to play this. And then it was out of stock. And then every time it was supposed to be in stock, it sold out instantly. And then they kind of reshuffled how the starter set was going to be boxed. So this is the new version of the starter set that we reported on about 2 or 3 episodes ago. I'm going to be unboxing this. Let's see what we think. Alright, so just a bit of a look at the box art. It is a gorgeous image. I don't know if this is a newer image or not, but it just really sets the mood. So it's fairly clear about what's supposed to be coming in the box. These are your characters, your heroes that you're trying to play with. Your hopefully not victims. This is a multi-part resin kit where you can build a couple of different types of slashers. I already know who I'm going to build up, and anybody that knows me personally probably already knows the answer to this as well. I'll give you a hint. It's in my name. These tokens are new. And there's some cards in here somewhere from memory. This, for a lot of people, is a huge selling point for it. Now, yes, it's just a case, but for those of you that are old enough to remember, this is a VHS case. It's not actually a pretend one, it's actually a VHS case. This is, from what I understand, probably one of the huge things that they're often waiting for, because these aren't cheap anymore. You used to be able to get these things for next to nothing, and when VHSs were being phased out, these would be given away. But you can't get them anymore. It's very, very unusual to find VHS cases now. They come from Asia somewhere. I want to say China, but there's only like 1 or 2 places that still make them. I don't quite understand how anybody is. But for something like this that's based in the horror genre, when VHS was king, it's just so appropriate. I mean, come on. If that doesn't make... The expansions come in these too. But if that doesn't make it, I don't know what does. Some of them even have like what looks like rental stickers on them, which is kind of cool. And obviously this is all part of the artwork design. So, before we go into the figures, let's have a look at everything else. Got some custom dice here. Everything kind of looks nice and gritty. Typical dice roll for me. Yeah, that's not too bad. Oh, I'll take that. Now, I assume that that's the... Ah, that's the one. Interesting. Not a Bruce. Can't complain about that. Alright, I'm not good, but I'd be silly to, given how much dice normally hate me. I didn't roll a Bruce once then. This is new. In the original version of this, you got a measure stick in MDF that looked like a knife. So these are new. This is one of the things that held up the starter set for the last couple of weeks. Alright. Most of these tokens are relatively the same. I believe these are fear tokens. I don't remember what they are yet. Interesting. That actually has a token inside of it as well. Interesting. Now, obviously, suits the star. It doesn't look like a knife anymore, but it still feels on brand. It's now more of a cleaver, obviously. The piece de la resistance. So, this is still the same version. So I don't believe anything has changed in this. Okay, so the one that comes within the thing is a scatter token. Interesting. You don't see scatter tokens in a lot of things anymore. I'll have a closer read through this and come back with my thoughts at the end of the video. But, in saying that, just quickly looking at the artwork and so forth, I like the fact that they give you a bit of a 3D idea of the layout. But all of the artwork feels on brand. One more lot of tokens. I believe these are new as well. Nice thick card. Good to see. Let's start with the main course, shall we? So this is our killer. Quite nice. You got an arm here. I think it's very clearly supposed to be that way. Clearly there's going to be a little bit of cleaning up to do there because it doesn't quite fit properly. Now, one of the heads. Bit of a creepy old man. This is the one that I will be using. Reminiscent of a character that I've always been a huge fan of. Here is our generic baghead man. And another familiar face. We've also got multiple tokens. Weapons rather. So we've got a machete here. We've also got a hammer and an axe. There's also, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that to focus on something. So, oh no, there we go. A pistol. Not going to be used for my particular character. Victim. Like that, I guess. Obviously, these all did come on the sprue and they've all broken off at some point. It's not unusual, especially with international shipping. We have cards. I think we'll start with the heroes, shall we? So, they are two-sided. So we've got Denise DeGraw. Whatever, loser. Bit of a background on the character. We've got Holden Gibson. You grew up on the fast and tough. You don't take any crap. Again, if you'd like to pause and read in your own time. Max, the ABS. With a jacket full of letters, you have quite the fan base. So this is obviously meant to be the abs. Again, if you want to read it in your own time. Alice Grace, head of the cheerleading team. You can motivate and high five all of the best of them. The survivor of the original Friday the 13th, their character was named Alice. The man, the myth, the legend. Seth seems to have a following in the Don't Look Back group on Facebook. Seth Newton, you often know too much for your own good. Or not. If you'd like to read his, feel free to pause. Ranger Sandy. You spend a lot of time chasing the kids around the forest. They don't usually get into too much trouble. Okay, so that's just how hard you're playing. These are the MOs. I might just... to get an idea of what's in them. If you want to pause to read them specifically, you're more than welcome to. I might come back with some thoughts on these at the end. And these are our killer character cards. So, on a 1 to 2, you get a mundane killer. Mutilated on a 3 to 4, so this is clearly not Jason. See, his name says Bobby. It's clearly not Jason. Familiar. Disjointed. This definitely doesn't remind me of a certain girl that comes crawling out of a TV. Ethereal. Time for our main characters. Alright, so this is clearly the abs with his baseball bat. That is Holden Gibson with his shotgun. And that is Alice with her megaphone. Fairly typical 80s look to most of these, which is what you would expect, given that that's what they're aiming for. Nice looking Ranger. And the debutante with Daddy's mobile phone. And the man, the myth, the legend, Seth with his torch. The sculpts on these are gorgeous. And there's so much detail in them. Like, washes, contrasts, like, they're going to be your friend on these. Like, seriously. You're going to get all of the detail. Very, very impressed with the sculpts. So, I've had a chance to look through this rulebook tonight. First and foremost, the thing that's most different about this particular war game is that it's not a war game. This is a tabletop game that's designed to be co-op. And as much as it's something that's done in board games more and more frequently, you don't see that in tabletop gaming as much. Which I think is a real shame, because it's something that really gets missed out. There is a large part of the gaming community that just aren't into the competitive aspect of a lot of games. And kind of accept that because they have to. Because everything has to be competitive. Has to. So that definitely gives this a very different feel. But I already knew that. I knew that when we covered this to begin with. You're cooperatively working against the killer. In this core set, you get 5 scenarios in the book. You roll for these randomly. I mean, you could just pick one if you wanted to. I mean, there's nothing that says that you can't. But even then, there's aspects of this that change. There is a specific killer that you can choose to use that suits the theme. So in this case, this is you've been out camping and something's going wrong. You've got 12 turns to try to get to the road, and you've got to flag down a car. And that's how you successfully get away, essentially. And this has a themed killer called Grayson that's always been here in the camp. Even after the accident many years ago. It's definitely not Jason Voorhees. It's definitely not Jason Voorhees says his name is Jason. Stop it. Specific MOs. But you can also randomly roll for a killer as well, which means that you could do the same thing and have a different game multiple different times, because the killer will react different ways according to however these work. It's on a 3x3 board. Everything is set up in a very simple-ish manner. They give you ideas of how they're supposed to be laid out. You have points of interest on the map, and you don't necessarily know what they're going to be. There's fright tokens on the map as well that will move around. These fright tokens could turn out to be nothing. It could turn out that it is the killer. It could turn out to be something positive. Probably not, but it might be. There is supporting characters that will show up from time to time. And they will try to help you get away, essentially. They also are probably the ones that are going to get killed first, because they're supporting characters. The tokens had two little creatures, or people in the tokens. That's what they are supposed to represent. There is also a miniature set that you can buy of that are just replacing those tokens. In saying that, if you have miniatures that you feel work, go ahead and use them. There's, as I said, 5 different scenarios. This is the camping one. There's another one which is where is Pat, so somebody's gone missing. You don't know where they are. Eventually, at some point during this, their body is going to turn up. And then you have to get off the board in order to survive. Am I right on that one? Yeah, you need to get off before the end. Another one is called The Escape. Well in the Woods. Trapped. All subtle differences, but differences that work nonetheless. On top of that, as we touched on earlier, there's different difficulty levels. So if you and your friends are finding this hard, easy, you could step this up and make it more difficult for yourself. I really like that in a competitive aspect. And it's not... A lot of co-op games have this, it's co-op until somebody betrays. And that's not in this. It's possible that one of the expansions may go that way, but it's not in the core set. The actual rules themselves are very simple and straightforward. There's only 3 steps. The first one is checking your terror. If you end up getting too much terror, then you become a victim, basically. Rolling for fright tokens. And the fright phase. It's like really, really straightforward. You've got the killer phase for round 2. Which is when the killer comes out and the killer is moving and attacking and so on and so forth. And then the character phase, which is where you get to do stuff. Movement, certain actions, you can attack the killer, how lucky you are comes into play. And then you're going into your items and so on and so forth. Well, as I said, it's simple, but not in a bad way. Now, in saying that, I was already excited for this, but I hadn't read the book yet, obviously. I like the fact that this is simple to pick up, but hard to master. It's not something that comes across, to me at least, as a game that's going to just let you pass through really easily. It comes across to me at least like this is going to actually give you a challenge. The fact that this is something that you can play together with friends as opposed to against friends really, really jumps out at me as a potential good investment to get new people into the hobby. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of people that just don't get into competitive games. Having a cooperative environment where, hey, we're just going to have fun and, not everybody likes horrors, but even those that don't like horrors, usually enjoy the comedy aspect of them. And ultimately what this game is about is creating the story. If there's things that come up, like one of the rules is if there's things that come up that conflict and the rules don't answer your question, you're supposed to pick the answer that makes the story more interesting. I kind of get the impression that even losing this game is going to be a lot of fun. Now, the proof is obviously going to be in the pudding. I'm going to have some games of this before I will know. At some point, Chris, you and I are going to have a game of this, when we're allowed to meet up. I definitely intend on having a game of this with my housemate. He's going to get roped into it, whether he likes it or not. He is going to like it. I'm going to make him. Obviously, I'll have to get some stuff painted up in that as well. But I might even just try to get a game in without even, just build it and just play it. Just simply because, why not? Now, this is just an unboxing and a general first impressions. This is certainly not supposed to be a review. I'm very excited for this. I already plan to purchase some expansions. There's obviously your Evil Clown one. That and the Alien one's probably going to be my first expansions. There's another one that adds some new characters in as well. So I'm definitely keen to get in on this. So that is Don't Look Back. I purchased this with my own money. Like I said, I was going to begin with. If you have thoughts on this, put them down below. I would highly recommend checking out Black Site Studios. Not just for this. They've got some really awesome looking pre-painted terrain as well. Thank you very much for checking out this video. If you're enjoying the content of this channel, please like and subscribe. If you're in a position to do so, please check out patreon.com/gettingtabled. You receive early access to at least 80% of all videos that we put out, and you get access to the video edition of all of our podcasts the day that they're uploaded. If you'd like to check us out on social media, facebook.com/gettingtabled is the most active. We also have a Discord server. You can email our team at gettingtabled@gmail.com. If you're on either Twitter or Instagram, you can find us at gettingtabled. And until next time,